of any kind on the earth will come earlier than it was to come. In fact, in one of his articles, Professor James Lovelock has even written, we seem to have missed the bus already, but we can only if we can reduce the damages or we can postpone the effects. That's all. Now, what does that problem have got to do with the Indo-US collaboration in nuclear science and technology? I think we must remember one point. India and China, these two countries together, they represent 40% of the world population. Both are undergoing rapid development, rapid industrial development, rapid economic development. And for that, I think I don't have to tell that electricity is an important ingredient for ensuring that development. You look at per capita emissions from these two countries, they are about 1/5 of what it could be in any OECD country, US included. So the problem is, if India and China or countries like that, if the 40% population of the world decides to match itself with the carbon emissions of OECD countries, I think what James Lovelock said will happen even earlier than what James Lovelock feels. Carbon dioxide molecule emitted anywhere affects the world equally. It does not distinguish between the OECD countries, the developing countries or the underdeveloped countries. It will affect the earth in a very, I think we might be exploiting the energy resources in a highly unequitable manner. But carbon dioxide will not affect us in an unequitable manner. The whole globe is under the danger. So in fact, I would say in this country, any new nuclear capacity is being added. It could be by the country itself, it could be by another country, it could be by facilitating fuel for an existing reactor. Of course, India will be thankful. India would thank that country or that company for coming forward and helping. But the countries also have to realize that if they are helping in adding nuclear capacity, they are helping the globe, they are helping the world's citizens. That I think has been very well understood, and that is the reason. That is the reason of opening up of this field, because what it was up to 2005 has really undergone a mammoth change now. And that is the reason. So, I think I have already dwelt on what the Mother Earth stands to gain. I think I will not further elaborate on that. Then comes the question of India. Naturally, as I told you, we may be the 5th largest producers of electricity in the world today. This when I ask my countrymen, the laypersons, the general public, that what do you think in maybe India's position as a electricity generator in the world, they feel we might be beyond 50th position because they experience the load shedding. You go out of Bombay, you come to know how short we are running in electricity supplies. You go to some farther villages, you know that those villages are yet to get an electricity connection. 40% households in India are yet to be given an electricity connection. So I think whenever a new capacity in any form, by nuclear, whenever a new capacity is added in India, I feel happy personally, I feel very happy that few more homes we will be able to lit with electricity. We will be able to provide them electricity for some basic comforts of life, or basic, not even comforts, basic necessities of life. And if we are doing it through the nuclear reactor, then all the more good. We are saving the world in that process. Now, how do we get all these reactors? As I have, I think, already expressed, I don't have to dwell upon that too much. It could be in terms of the light water reactors or the boiling water reactors included. The light water reactors from any country like US. We are talking about US, so yes, from the US. We know there are two giant companies, they are represented here. I welcome them once again to this 3-day exhibition. And yes, I think commercial talks are on, negotiations are going on. I'm not part of it, so I won't comment on that. But I am told by at least my department that negotiations are moving smoothly and moving definitely into a positive direction. And we look forward that very soon we are going to have physically some new plants being launched. Then of course, as I had told, that the second point, the second pillar of our this thing, we would definitely like, we have our own reprocessing technology. But naturally, when the question of reprocessing the spent fuel coming out of the reactors which are using imported uranium, see, those could be PHWRs working on imported uranium, or those could be the imported LWRs. When the question of reprocessing them comes, naturally, I can't reprocess them in the plants I have established. The Department of Atomic Energy already having for the indigenous program, because we would not like any confusion. Where we are reprocessing our indigenous material, we definitely would not like to reprocess. So that means if we are looking forward to 40,000 megawatt installed capacity in terms of imported reactors or imported fuel, that is what is the goal. That in next 10, 12 years we should be able to, or maybe 15 years, we should be able to put up 40,000 megawatt in terms of either light water reactors or imported uranium. So all the spent fuel which will be generated from these, we will need to reprocess that. So we would definitely look forward to cooperation in the reprocessing technology, so that we can put up dedicated reprocessing plants which will take care of this spent fuel coming from the imported material. So that, I think, becomes a very important aspect of whatever business we are getting. Then I think let us now discuss, besides the growth of nuclear industry in India, what is there now, as all of you know. India over the years, when the whole world, practically the whole world had given up, or had at least for the time being had stopped working on fast breeder technology, all these years, right from 70s. India, as all of you know, the starting point for 3-stage nuclear power program is the closed fuel cycle. So we have always been engaged in developing the fast breeder reactor technology. And with that dedicated effort of, I would say, about 4 decades, it was in 1969 that Reactor Research Center was established near Chennai at Kalpakkam, where I think the American delegation visited. That I would like to tell you, the original name of the place was Reactor Research Center, and it was only in 1985 that we renamed it in the great memory of our ex-Prime Minister, Srimati Indira Gandhi. It was named as Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, IGCA, where we visited. Yeah. So that place now, it is more than 40 years that it is existing. It has definitely developed a technology base. And you are all aware that in 1985 we established the country's first fast breeder test reactor with unique features. The world's first, and probably, I think if I am right, the only fast breeder reactor which used the carbide fuel. And at that time, in fact, I think maybe about 2 years back we celebrated, or maybe 1 year back we celebrated the silver jubilee of that reactor. And there, in fact, the people from some of the stalwarts who probably are now retired, but they participated in that program. And I think some of them were sharing that how, when they were going ahead with this carbide fuel, they were, if I can use the word, I am quoting them anyway, they said we were ridiculed by the people world over, that this carbide fuel has this disadvantage, this disadvantage. It is not going to work. In fact, very proudly and very happily, I can tell you that that carbide fuel has, I think, if I'm right, it has seen more than 165. Somebody is there who can correct me. Okay, it has in fact exceeded the design values. So it has seen the burn-ups of much beyond the designers, and that carbide fuel has not failed. So we have that rich experience. Plus, as all of you know, the country is building the world's second largest fast breeder reactor, a 500 megawatt PFBR, which we feel if everything goes all right, maybe in a year from now, or maybe a little more than that, we would be able to commission that reactor. And in fact, today morning, I think while replying to the media, Mr. Sinha, I think I quote him, he said, even I don't know why it is called prototype. It's going to be a 500 megawatt reactor, providing you 500 megawatt of electricity. So I think anyway, we named it prototype. Probably we want to show that though it is delivering, it is going to do the commercial performance. But I think as a technology in India, we probably with reference to the technology, we are saying the word prototype. So with this rich experience, a president of ANS is here. He himself has his own experience in the field of fast breeder reactors. So sir, I think one important point of collaboration between India and USA, and maybe between ANS and INS, could be the fast breeder reactor technology. And then of course, as a continuation of that, what we call as our third stage, the thorium-based reactors, that is another rich experience India is having. In fact, somewhere in 2007, I saw a report where it was mentioned that India is producing the largest number of peer-reviewed scientific papers, scientific publications in the whole world. I think about 55% of the published literature on thorium-based reactor systems and thorium technologies is originating from India. So I think we can mutually benefit with those experiences, and I am very sure that we are very near to the launching of AHWR, which is not essentially a third stage reactor, but it is, in fact, we best describe it by saying that it is a step forward towards the third stage of nuclear power program of India. And if we do so in next 1 year, I am sure that India would be the first country in the world who would be extracting electricity from a thorium-based reactor. That is going to be a very, very rich experience, and probably any country which is cooperating with India will mutually benefit. I mean, India and that country will mutually benefit. So I think, I feel that as an extension, if we do agree to cooperate in the field of fast breeder reactors, I think as an extension of that, we can also cooperate in the field of thorium-based reactors or our third stage reactors. India is already working in a big way on technology development for high temperature reactors, for technology development towards the accelerated driven systems. And I think we can we can fasten this process, we can hasten this process by joining hands. And then of course, since I talked about AHWR morning, you have heard a lucid presentation from Dr. R.K. Sinha, the director of BARC. I think he gave a rather elaborate presentation on the advanced heavy water reactor, and I think he made a mention about another version of AHWR, the low enriched uranium version of AHWR. Now that is a version which we have developed, which we are developing, and which we are putting forward. In fact, we submitted it, we made a presentation 2 years back in the General Conference at IAEA, and we declared to the world that this AHWR LEU, low enriched uranium fuel, AHWR, is offered to the world, a small size reactor, and probably it can be taken up. So that is another field where I think we could offer to the world. And then of course comes the the general issue, the HRD and knowledge management, and I would refer back to that Bhabha's statement that in a few decades from now you will have a lot of, and we are in India. Presently we have a large pool of the knowledge base on nuclear technology. I think when we are expanding the program, the world is expanding its nuclear program, I think they can make good use of this huge base of human resources. Then another field which I see that on which we could see working together is the safety, which is very important. I think today's topic is anyway safety. So I think we should look for avenues that where we can mutually cooperate with each other, because I think I once again remember there is a statement for nuclear energy particularly, that a statement has been told that accident anywhere is accident everywhere. So that's how the nuclear industry takes it, that an accident, if it has happened in Fukushima, we should take it as if the accident has happened in every reactor of the world. And then we should learn that how should we avoid it next time. And probably that is why after Chernobyl immediately a lot of cooperations started, international cooperations in the field of, and I think those international peer reviews, they were an outcome only after Chernobyl reactor we have started doing these international peer reviews, which have benefited India also, maybe other countries also. So I think we can, in a much stronger way, we can work in these fields, the safety, the emergency preparedness, and the regulatory aspects. So this will, in general, will be good for the health of nuclear industry the world over, this type of collaborations. And finally, I think yesterday onwards, practically every speaker has been making a mention, whether he is speaking on the cost of nuclear power or he is speaking on the engineering of nuclear power. Everybody is talking about the public acceptance, the public awareness. And a time has come that a problem of Kudankulam in India, for me, is not merely a problem for Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited. It is not merely a problem for Department of Atomic Energy. It is not merely a power for India. It is a problem for the nuclear industry all over the world. So I think we have to take that very seriously, and we have to, I think, sit together and decide that how to increase this public acceptance. That is going to be very, because ultimately it might happen. Yesterday we discussed the challenges for the growth of nuclear power, and in those challenges we were looking for man, we were looking for money, we were looking for material. Maybe you solve all those three by your indulgence, and finally you find that the bottleneck is in terms of public acceptance. So I think that should be taken as one part of the nuclear fuel cycle development. I think it becomes a very important component of development of nuclear energy. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I have taken a lot of time. So I think this day's deliberations will further, maybe on some of the points which I have mentioned, we will be discussing about that. And I once again compliment American Nuclear Society for taking this initiative, and I wish that the complete deliberations of the day are very fruitful for India, for USA, for the nuclear industry all over the world. Thank you very much.